are these people?
I wanted to get to two different articles that came out of the Taibbi Twitter files, FOIA files, censorship industrial complex stuff that he's been all over for the better part of 18 months. So the first one actually happened about a month ago, and I didn't really hear anybody talk about it, but it was really important because if you remember the 2020 election, and I think some of us do, one of the organizations that was highly influential was that no, Anna, we're not doing any Rockfin on the redo because we just crashed, and I'm just not setting one up. A pain in the butt. Sorry. Tell Rockfin it's a pain in the ass. Stanford Internet Observatory, again, has been very highly influential when it came to the election, to censoring Twitter, they hired this woman named Reade DiResta. They had this guy recently who just resigned from the Stanford Internet Observatory. But then we find out that not just he lost his job, but everybody lost their job. So everybody lost their job because the center
lose your job
was the
and
leading.
You lose your job.
Yeah. So the Stanford Internet Observatory is brought to heel. Now, Andrew Lowenthal had actually written one of the Twitter files articles way back like a year ago. He's from Australia. He says karma has just caught up with the Stanford Internet Observatory, which will be scaled back to just 3 staff, according to the Washington Post. The contracts of its leading protagonists or propagandists, Alex Stamos and Reade DiResta, have not been renewed. Yay!
Yay!
You know, we hate people losing their jobs, but propagandists losing their jobs. Yeah, exactly. All right. It was former CIA fellow DiResta that led the Stanford Internet Observatory's signature initiatives, the Election Integrity Project, the EIP, and the Virality Project, VP. Of course, the Virality Project was around censoring COVID stuff. Election Integrity Partnership ended up running the tabletop exercise that pre-gamed all of the Hunter Biden laptop censorship for the social media companies.
That was just Russian propaganda.
Russian scum.
You and your damn emails.
SIO's demise is a result of a string of efforts, including those of Racket, Public, the Missouri v. Biden plaintiffs, the New Civil Liberties Alliance, the Disinformation Chronicle, the Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government, and many more. Network Effects also contributed original research. Founded with a $5 million donation from Craig Newmark. We know who he is, especially, you know, Craigslist, Craig Newmark. SIO took countering misinformation to new heights. The Virality Project advised its big tech partners to consider true stories to be misinformation. Of course they did. Right? Standard vaccine misinformation on your platform. Yeah, Of course, booby. They accuse false or misleading posts from the accounts of well-known repeat offenders. So what do they want? They want booby censored. That's RFK Jr., not actual like boobies, but yep. We're back at another stream on YouTube, guys. That has this title of Censorship Industrial Complex. And thank you for jumping over to Rumble, everybody who has. And Rumble's kick-ass because as we continue our stream, they don't actually drop our stream, but we actually have a new stream over on the INN channel as well as my own, I believe. I hope so. It's supposed to be running live. If not, then we're just over on Rumble. But
it's up on YouTube.
I think so too. What he says is that he unearthed that document while assisting Matt Taibbi with the Twitter files research just in time for his and Schellenberger's testimony before the Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government. That was last March. It's perhaps the most egregious example of the Internet research and digital rights field's 180, an inorganic flip that undermined a decades-long commitment to free expression. An infiltration by the Intel community, you mean, into the academic community, which there always really has been, but somebody convinced the people at the social media companies that these academics that were also CIA agents were leading experts when it came to misinformation and censorship. Yeah, that really happened. Inorganic because the EIP and VP, the Election Integrity Partnership and Virality Partnership, were not research initiatives, as is often claimed. They were seeded by the security state, namely the Department of Homeland Security and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, which is CISA, as demonstrated by emails released by the House Committee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government. Below the Atlantic Council's Graham Brookie, an EIP VP project partner, explains that we just set up an election integrity partnership at the request of DHS CISA. So Renee DiResta, who was lying through her fucking teeth, claiming that this was completely independent of any intel agency or anything having to do with the federal government, absolute fucking lie. And you could see that this was disseminated throughout the Atlantic Council from Graham Brookie. All right. The Atlantic Council is essentially NATO's think tank, and its board includes Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla, the former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, former Secretary General of NATO the Honorable Lord Robinson, former U.S. Secretary of Defense and CIA Director Leon Panetta, Tara Reade's former boss, Goldman Sachs Secretary of the Board John F.W. Rogers, and many, many, many more. As Taibbi further demonstrated, Twitter was aware of the Election Integrity Partnership's links to the intel community, which, again, he discovered throughout his Twitter files and now also through the FOIA files, where they're now reverse engineering the Twitter files through FOIA requests and finding out through public documentation of people's emails exactly what was discussed between public officials and both these university officials and the social media companies and the intel agencies that's not classified. Right. So when content takedown recommendations came into Twitter, they knew they were more than just serving suggestions. The content of those requests was made clear after the Stanford Internet Observatory was forced to release details of their internal flagging system. This again via Taibbi's reporting. And they had all of these different labels. This is being shared to Facebook. And while it's been labeled, shared in a group, official page shares didn't receive such a label. We recommend labeling all instances of the article being shared on Facebook. I mean, this is literally just nanny state internet police self-appointed by the U.S. government. Right? We found this out a month ago, that they disbanded this organization. Furthermore, that Virality Project, just to remind you why they're disbanding it, because it was a narrative changing and narrative shaping intel state operation that got exposed, partly by the Twitter files. Right? Virality Project was in close contact with the White House and hosted Surgeon General Vivek Murthy for a discussion on health misinformation. Oh, God. They also had
not
a pipe.
Vivek.
No, not that Vivek. Not Ramaswamy.
Yeah.
They also had pipeline level access to more than 50 million COVID-related tweets per day. Well, that seems like it would be a good idea to put the COVIDians in charge of 50 million tweets a day and which ones should be censored.
That's fine.
This was in no way an insignificant research project, right? They said they were releasing a new free endpoint in Twitter Developer Labs that delivers the full fidelity, real-time public tweets about COVID-19. We know that our standard API has limitations to make it Difficult. Now, I'm reading from the email up here. Difficult to adequately study this topic due to its volume. This new stream will include all tweets related to COVID as classified by our tweet annotations, because they're the experts, of course. Just ask them. We intend to publish the keywords and hashtags of the tweet annotation powering the COVID-19 topic, so you have transparency into the contents of the stream and can supplement as needed. Which, of course, they don't. They never did that. Oh, right. The Virality Project pushed to censor other academics such as Martin Kulldorff, a former Harvard professor of epidemiology and a former member of the CDC's vaccine safety subgroup. So as Alex Guttentag and Andrew had reported, the Virality Project had played a major role in censoring Kulldorff. On March 15, 2021, that's a year after the lockdown started, Kulldorff had tweeted, quote, "Thinking that everyone must be vaccinated is as scientifically flawed as thinking that nobody should. COVID vaccines are important for older high-risk people and their caretakers. Those with prior natural infection do not need it, nor children. Safe and effective, safe and effective." That's Martin Kulldorff saying that, not in the YouTube. Now, Rumble, Rockfin, and everybody else, that's a whole different story. But as far as YouTube is concerned, they're safe and effective.
I love how you coughed and died right after you said that. That's definitely
right.
Definitely doesn't say anything, does it? Safe and effective.
However, many outlets describe the Stanford Internet Observatory's demise as the result of sustained right-wing campaign by conservative outlets and ignore the corruption at the heart of the project. Predictably, Stanford, DiResta, Stamos, and their supporters shout, "Everything is right-wing," as they scramble to come up with a narrative.
Stamos?
Well, maybe. No, it's Alex Stamos. It might be John's brother or cousin. But they shout everything's right-wing.
Jesse for a second.
No, Uncle Jesse. Uncle Jesse, that's what my kids call Jesse now. But as they scramble to come up with a narrative that deflects accountability for their actions, they're screaming everything is right-wing. Because everything that I disagree with is right-wing. All right? So...
Dude, those pants do make you look right-wing.
Well,
so,
pants check, I am wearing shorts. The truth is that the Stanford is just that SIO was doing something egregiously wrong and was targeting people regardless of ideology. Those reporters could easily find out that out. The lead tweet of Taibbi's House testimony has been viewed more than 40 million times. Right? So Stamos and DiResta will, of course, find other work. I think that DiResta has already found another job. Stamos already has, starting a company with former CISA head Chris Krebs, and I think we even covered that. Meanwhile, DiResta has a new book out, endorsed surprisingly by Jonathan Haidt, who was among the top signatories of the Westminster Declaration. That's kind of weird, hypocritical.
Yep.
Maybe that's why guys like C.J. Hopkins didn't want to sign it. Or maybe he did want to sign it, but then they kicked him off because he called it a sham. Oh, right. That's what happened. That's right, Michael Schellenberger. We saw that. Despite SIO crumbling accountability, still appears to be sorely lacking. Despite SIO crumbling, accountability still appears to be sorely lacking. DiResta appeared top of the bill at a recent Yale conference on propaganda. Yes, because Yale is deep in disseminating propaganda, skull and bones.
Yeah, they've never had a club that involved, bits and pieces of people and whatnot. It's never happened. Never had
Cookies.
a Bush in that club.
Bad Cookies asking the question, isn't that a conflict of interest? Yeah, I think it quite might be. If you're advocating and endorsing Renee DiResta while also signing the Westminster Declaration, you might be an op. What's up with that? What's up with that? Dude, that's That's becoming my favorite sound bit very quickly. It should never have gone this far. A properly self-regulating anti-disinformation field would have sniffed out bad actors early, but the conversation and the ecosystem is broken. SIO shouldn't be the last center to be shut down or see leadership changes. Yeah, we're going to show you the next one right now. Breaking basic research ethics, hiding your relationship with government and intelligence agencies, protecting corporate products from proper scrutiny, and pushing for the censorship of other academics is not free academic inquiry or free speech. It's corruption and it's censorship, which he didn't say there. Andrew's nonprofit LiberNet will be strengthening their efforts over the coming months to bring accountability to other leading civil society censorship initiatives. Meanwhile, the Stanford Internet Observatory leaves a malign legacy, having damaged the reputation of the anti-disinformation field and academia more broadly. The question is, will the anti-disinformation field clean house, which we know they won't, or continue to ignore the corruption within its ranks, which we know it likely will because Clint Watts is still employed? Links to Andrew's past Stanford Internet Observatory and Virality Project related content can be found below. Andrew does great work. I actually was trying to get him on the show and try to work out a time to interview him and talk to him about this whole thing, but we just weren't able to do that. And I kind of needed to pull a story in tonight. And I'm like, you know what? Nobody's talked about the fact that this thing shut down. It was a major factor in impacting the tabletop exercise and impacting the 2020 election. And now they don't exist. And they're going to resurface somewhere else, and they'll pop up elsewhere and try to infect their narrative into the 2024 election cycle. I don't have any doubt or misgivings about that. What do you think about the Stanford Internet Observatory?
I mean, sounds like another industrial complex of mal, mis, and disinformation. You know, pretty much whatever goes against the powerful, they have to go get. You know.
Well, and I think that
stamp out any discontent.
And marking, look, we just like with independent platforms, it's platform whack-a-mole. We have to keep moving around and stay nimble and one step ahead. And these guys the censors are trying to do the same thing with us. They're trying to stay one step ahead with their agencies, and we've got to watch them like a hawk and be ever mindful of what they're up to. And don't take your eye off what Renee DeRest is up to, because you can guarantee she's not going anywhere. These people don't disappear. Yeah. They're like parasites. They just rebrand. We're all getting squeezed, everyone. So if there's any way that you're able to, we know it's tough out there for everyone. Couple of bucks. Again, Sarah was really generous, and she was able to help us out with some money this weekend. And we're trying to get Jesse a new computer. We had a part blow on Reef's machine. I had a power cable thing blow on my machine. This is the regular stuff that we deal with on a daily basis, just in order to be able to do this stuff. So anything that anybody can do to help, certainly it's appreciated and necessary, because we're not getting sponsor money and we're not getting advertiser dollars, and you guys are the only people that we depend on for any kind of funding and any kind of support. So we deeply appreciate it.